Loyalty is protecting children from fentanyl, not inviting the drug cartels to deal it on our playgrounds.
Fentanyl surged to be the top cause of deaths for Americans between the ages of 18 and 45. But tech companies, they're now helping Democrats suppress negative stories surrounding the opioid crisis. Yes, this is true. For more, let's bring in former Director of Special Operations of the Drug Enforcement Agency, Derek Maltz. Derek, thank you so much for joining us and bringing to light this very important topic, because I had no idea until you let me know about it. As we all know, we've discussed children, young people, they're being poisoned in mass across the nation. Customs and Border Protection doing what it can, seizing a massive haul of fentanyl pills, around 4 million. I mean, it just goes on and on. But talk to me about when you tried to tell your story about the crisis. You had a video on YouTube, and it was repeatedly suppressed, right? The videos on the topic. And it's, talk to me about it.
So, Lydia, thank you very much. I mean, censorship now is a blueprint for success. It was in the 2020 election campaign, and we know what the results there were. So there's 3 months left before the election. So the censorship train is full speed ahead. So from my standpoint, I'm very disappointed. I'm out there rallying with families that buried their loved ones. We have historic amounts of kids that have died from fentanyl poisoning. So I put up my media videos, and 3 of them were removed over the last 2 weeks from YouTube. And they were old videos, so I don't even understand it. But here's the point, Lydia. All the families that I speak to, they're very angry because they never had a chance to educate their kids. They never had a chance to learn that fentanyl was a poisonous drug made illicitly in labs in Mexico or China, and it was killing their kids at record levels. So they're really upset. So all I'm trying to do is get the messages out to the public. So how the hell would anyone think that that information should be removed? Because it's part of a corrupt, in my opinion, censorship campaign to, change the messaging during this election season. The border's wide open. The cartels are working with China. The Chinese are doing the money laundering. Director Ray has said they're the biggest national security threat to our country. So why? Why would they want those videos down? I don't know the answer to that.
And it's you're seeing big tech. They do seem to be interfering in this election. A lot of people are noticing it. If you put in Google, you put in Donald Trump, you'll see Harris campaign information come up. Everything is kind of low down. Even when I'm doing research, Donald Trump Jr., he also put out a tweet saying big tech is trying to interfere in the election again to help Kamala Harris. We all know this is intentional election interference from Google. Truly despicable. We know Kamala's, the borders are. Do you think this is by accident, that your video was suppressed? That if you're trying to figure out and find information about fentanyl, how it's devastating communities, that it's being buried? What do you think? Is it a coincidence? Is it or is this intentionally being done to help Kamala to the White House?
I think it's just like when they buried the Hunter Biden laptop in the 2020 election. It's very clear the influence that had. But kids are supposed to learn from mistakes, not die from mistakes, Lydia. So how the hell are we supposed to get the messages to the kids when big social media is taking these kind of messages off their sites? Because the government's not educating the kids. The army of families are around the country putting billboards, going to rallies, going into schools. So it's really, really despicable. And I believe it's deliberate. And I hope I'm wrong, but how else do you make sense of this?
How else do you? And, the border crisis is not only killing Americans, hurting Americans, but it's also destroying economies. Taxpayers, we can't take this anymore. A new report showing Massachusetts will spend almost $2 billion on illegals over the next 2 years. The group behind the report calling it a fiscal time bomb. Here in New York City, they're talking about $4 billion a year taking care of all of these illegals. Other states are also on the same path to fiscal disaster, aside from all the crime that the illegals bring with them, despite what you can also find on the internet. They say it's a myth, right? Migrant crime is a myth. So what do you think about this? What's it going to take for people to understand that another 4 years of Kamala Harris, I mean, it's just Joe Biden, but more radically left? I mean, she's come out and said that she wants to decriminalize border crossings.
And she also wants to abolish ICE. And defund the police. But listen to Mayor Adams, listen to Mayor Johnson when they say like things like the influx of migrants are destroying our city. It's a national problem that needs a national solution. I mean, wake the hell up, Washington. Brandon Johnson says the entire country's at stake because of this migrant crisis. And then look at, obviously, Laken Riley. Look at the San Antonio cop that was shot last week by the illegal from Venezuela. Look at the 54-year-old the grandmother near my house here in Northern Virginia. She was run down by the El Salvadorian savage who stole the car. Look at all these beautiful kids, the rapes of the 13-year-old up in New York. Look at, Jocelyn Nungri, who was raped and then murdered by the two from Venezuela. I mean, how many more signals do you need? How can anybody with common sense think it makes sense? And remember, Lydia, let me say one last thing. Director Wray has been warning the public for a very long time about the threat of China, #1 national security threat. So why the hell is the White House and Secretary of Homeland Security letting the Chinese nationals come in at record levels? How the hell does that make any sense? It makes it about as much sense as putting a man in a boxing ring with a woman. I mean, come on, Lydia.
Or voting for Kamala Harris and expecting something different. Derek Maltz, thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.